I don't exactly remember the first image. It's really very blurred what was the first image. But I think I was tuned in during the election. So the images must have been during the election of like people on the streets and just like this feeling of celebration that was going on, and activism. This is what I would like guess what I've seen. But what was the most impactful image that I remember was right after the election when people took on the streets. So there was like that million, like a few million people were on the street and they were walking silently. That is the most prominent image that I remember. Feeling was that of euphoria. See all of people on the street, and this kind of because for the longest time the news that was coming from Iran was this news of kind of doom that people were like really they're so disrespectful of each other, they're so mistrusting of each other, they're so divided, and everyone is backstabbing and all of that. To see all of these people coming on the streets and hand in hand and like walk together, having a goal, a common goal, was really euphoric. We were like really moved, and it didn't take long before they started shooting into the crowd. So it was like I mean there was this feeling of of hope, and then it was shattered right away. So and then the uh, outcome of it was really like we were all. I mean, it was like so overwhelming that I don't think if there was much of prediction but that following. There were discussions going on, and but we were under the impression that basically with this number of people that were on the street, that the regime would back up, but it didn't happen. The situation was that I mean I think that this was a miracle that basically the regime kicked out all of the journalists, because what happened was that I think the, something happened that was unprecedented in modern history, and that was that basically the channels of communication started to be from the people and really the action on the street itself. And because of the technology and what was happening with the technology, it was made possible. So the wealth of the information that was coming through, uh, and the nature of this information was magnificent, because you have to remember that the journalism, the whatever if there are journalists on the streets and they're covering stuff, they're bound to their political, institutional, political interests, and they would be basically the reportage is always tied to certain like financial restrictions, and also the institutional interests that institution that agency has. And for the first time, you were seeing that there was journalism on grassroots level, unrestricted and immediate, unproduced. So the impact of it was tremendous, I think. Especially at the beginning, because even most of the people that were posting, they weren't like even disguising their names, or they weren't like being careful about that. So you knew that it was authentic. It was very immediate, it was passionate, and it had the sense of urgency and honesty in it. Of course, what happened later on, both a lot of groups and also the government, they started to see the power of this, and they started to infiltrate. And so you started to see a lot of fake material and unauthentic material, and there was a feeling of mistrust that you couldn't, trust it at that point. But I would say at the beginning, what was significant was this phenomenon of horizontal kind of uprising, that leaderless, that it was really made through this power of technology that was there, which was really magnificent at the same time very misguiding, because what happened was that this kind of reliance was very idealistic, in a sense that it really, gave this sense of, okay, this thing could happen without leadership, without organization, without any kind of structure. And when people were faced with a highly organized militia, and really vicious militia, then things started to fall apart. Well, images are really strong. They're very powerful, and that's why, for example, during the war with Iraq, and war with Iraq, we saw that basically these images were always, and this was a learned experience from the Vietnam War for for Americans, that basically they understood that these images could be really, really crucial in changing public opinion, and having a very, powerful effect on people. So they started to really censor it and not allow it to come to public. Also in Iran, I think that photography, what has been, because there have been a lot of people that have been interested in both photography and cinema within the last 50 years, I think. And so you have a good population, that a good constituency that is well trained in that media. And so once the events started to happen, especially with the availability of the technology, so they were out there, and and savvy enough to take the pictures that were important, and then post it right away on the internet. So I think that the impact is is incredible. I mean, if it gets to the public, it has an impact. But more so, I think that it was not so much this time the photography, but actually the the videos that were posted. I think those were much more crucial in communicating what was going on. And I think that the reason for that is that basically because of the nature of the media, because the way that the media is, especially in the Western world and in particular in America, it has a function of overproduction. It's always produced, and this produced element. What happens with this produced element is that it when it's presented to the public, it blurs the boundaries of reality and fiction, in a sense that this, the relationship to the image becomes fictional. I think that with the way that these videos came from Iran, the way that they were produced, the way they were made, it couldn't be pushed to this realm of fiction and be as a result, denied or neglected. There was an immediacy into these pictures, in these videos. There was a sense of urgency and that, and not being produced, basically, that created the impact that it had.